Family, we were fortunate enough to watch him break the record and finish first in that race, and we were just yelling like you guys. He did a great job and we were really proud of him. American Indian showed everybody out there. That was awesome. Billy Mills was born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Although Pine Ridge is very rich in culture and spirit, it is continually recognized economically as one of the poorest communities in America, with unemployment reaching 80%. Billy was orphaned by the age of 12 and sent to boarding schools. He graduated from high school Haskell Institute in Lawrence, Kansas. Billy became involved in distance running and earned an athletic scholarship at the University of Kansas. Never winning a major race in track and field or cross country, he continued to show promise by making All-American 7 times. And you guys down there talking and screaming, listen up, please. Quiet. If you want to know who Billy Mills is, he's famous in America. He's a very good Indian man. So please calm down so you can hear about him. Thank you. Upon graduating from the University of Kansas, Billy was commissioned as an officer of the United States Marine Corps and continued training for the Olympic team in 1964. He made the Olympic team in 2 events, a marathon and a 10,000-meter run. He trained his body, mind, and soul for peak performance, and the world was about to see the greatest upset in Olympic history unfold. Today, Billy is an accomplished businessman, author, and national spokesperson for Christian Relief Services and Running Strong for American Indian Youth. A major motion picture has been made about Billy titled Running Brave and has been a positive influence on many of our American youth. Before we hear from Billy, just to recapture a moment in sports, we will play a short video of Billy's Olympic victory. Look for Billy. The number of his jersey is 722. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let's welcome Billy Mills.
The time for 9,000 meters. 25 minutes, 45 and 8/10 seconds. They're going to break the Olympic record if they continue on this pace. It's a slow track, although it's a wonderful day for running. It's cool here at National Stadium. The crowd is growing. 80,000 people are almost out of their seats watching these runners. Clark is back in the lead. Clark of Australia, followed by Gamoudi of Tunisia. Mills of the USA is in 3rd position. Mills is staying, and now Mills once again is making his move. Clark refuses to let Mills go around him. They're battling for the championship of the world. They're battling shoulder to shoulder. They're knocking men off the track. They had to move him, and Clark moves out in front. And now here comes Gamoudi of Tunisia. He takes the lead, followed by Clark of Australia. You can't believe it. They've run almost 10,000 meters, and they are literally shoulder to shoulder. Gamoudi of Tunisia is moving now. He's making his move. Clark is trying to stay with him. Gamoudi is sprinting. He's coming off the curve. They're about to finish the race. There's only 100 meters left. Gamoudi is out in front. No, Clark is taking him. No, Gamoudi is staving off the challenge. Clark is sprinting. Gamoudi is out in front. Here comes Bill to the USA. Bill to the USA. He won. Followed by Gamoudi and Clark. 28 minutes, 24 and 1/10 seconds. What a fantastic victory for the United States. We've just seen one of the most spectacular races in the history of the Olympic Games. The United States has never won the 10,000 meters. Today we saw Bill Mills hang on. At first, everyone thought he was just a pace setter, but this boy stayed right in there with Ron Clark, the world record holder. Everyone thought the race was between Gamoudi and Ron Clark. They thought Mills would cave in, but he stayed up there with the leaders. And with 120 meters left to go, when Clark and Gamoudi began to sprint for the championship, Mills was just laying in there, about 3 yards back. He sprinted and out-sprinted both Clark and Gamoudi into the tape to win the greatest championship of his life, a new Olympic record, and Bill Mills of USA has just won a gold medal for the United States in an event we never expected to win. Now in National Stadium with the torch lit and the smoke spiraling upward into the sky. The lights are on. It's dusk here in Tokyo, but they're about to have the victory ceremony for the 10,000 meters. And I must admit, I've had many thrills in sports, but I've never had a thrill quite like seeing young Bill Mills win the Olympic 10,000 meter finals. This has to be the greatest performance in distance running in the history of our country.
Thank you. Thank you. That moment was very, very magical to me. I felt as if I had wings on my feet. But what I want to do, I want to take some time to share with each of you. My wife and I have traveled to over 100 different countries throughout the world. And I want to share with you what a number of the countries are teaching about you and I. Other countries are teaching, which our country is trying to let the winds of change and the passage of time wash those footprints away. And they've also, many countries have told my wife and I that they look toward the indigenous women from the United States of America for hope. They've said how tribal leaders, state governments, federal governments, how they empower the women, the indigenous women from the United States, is either their celebration or their demise. I walked off the stage in Tunisia, and I'll start the story. A lady walked up to me and said, "How can I teach the truth about the United States government's relationship with their tribal nations and still be fair to your country, Billy?" I simply said, the truth should never be too severe to hear. They have studied and they have taught at colleges in a number of countries the doctrine of discovery. They've taught the Lakota treaty rights with the U.S. government. They've taken other tribal nations' treaty rights with the United States government, and they've studied them. So I'll start with this. They've studied the doctrine of discovery, which we need to have every one of our young people understand. It basically says, in reference to the New World, Arctica to the Antarctica, land, and I'm honored to be on your sacred lands here. But lands can only belong to the first Christian monarch that sets their shores on the New World. They mark off what they want. That land can only belong to white European leaders, primarily male. They mark off what they want. And the indigenous people, they cannot own land. And they must come under international rules of law. Their language, the sacredness of their drum, their songs, their way of life can no longer belong. And they must come under international rule of law. Then they must become Christians. Then it was realized within one generation, the indigenous people that became Christians could own land. So they simply said, you cannot own land. That's still law in our law books. Indigenous people cannot own land. Other countries are teaching this. We're trying to let the winds of change, the passage of time, wash those footprints away. We need to teach our young people. America, the world, needs to hear the voice of our young people, of our youth, and we must continue to prepare them. The seventh generation, when our elders, Sitting Bull said, we'll take the best of both worlds and build a new world for our children. But those words quickly became misleading, broken treaties, boarding school trauma, creating generational trauma. It also created generational privilege. In America today, our ancestors said the seventh generation born will be the first generation that can take our culture, our traditions, our spirituality, the songs. They can take them with them as they educate and empower their minds and help choreograph the horizon of America's future. Other countries are teaching that. Again, we're letting the winds of change and passage of time wash those footprints away. We must not. The doctrine of discovery justified genocide. Pope Francis, a year ago, this month, called the doctrine of discovery genocide. He was asked by many indigenous people in California, the women, to denounce the doctrine of discovery. He did a year ago. He called it genocide. Very little coverage was given about that in our United States of America. Other countries are teaching it. The land had to be developed. Slavery. When the slaves were freed, Jim Crow, treaties signed, treaties broken. That gave birth simply to Jim Crow. Jim Crow was countered with the war on drugs. The Civil Rights Act was countered by the war on drugs. And with leadership in this country, drugs were planted. They found their way to the reservations. And we all know the devastation of meth. Those footprints are etched into every fiber of our social way of life, our educational system, our political system, forever dictating the rule of law. We need our young people's voices to be heard. We need to address generational trauma. We need to address generational privilege. And our young people today will be those that come together in the classrooms with the diversity of their peer group and collectively choreograph the horizon of America's future. Our youth today are the youth that will heal us. I wanted to share that with you because other countries are teaching it. And our country, letting the winds of change, the passage of time, wash those footprints away. And if you watch the news and you read about Project 2025, that's exactly what they're trying to do. We need to empower our youth. We need to help them choose the words, because they will play a major role as I close in choreographing the horizon of the United States of America. My name is Billy Mills, but I tried to speak with you for the last 15 minutes by my Lakota name, Ta Mokosha Te Kahila, which simply means loves his country. More traditionally, it means respects the earth. I love my country. I respect the earth and our indigenous people. Our voice is being heard in many other parts of the world. Now it's time for our voice to be heard for the good here in our own country. My wife and I are honored to be here with you. We're looking forward to the powwow. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy Mills. What an honor.
Thank you everybody for a generous applause. Thank you so much for a speedy guy. Wow. We're very, very proud of you. Thank you so much.